Hey everybody, this is Jose Heredia with Disc Jockey News, filling in for John Young. And we have a very special episode of Tuesdays with Ben Stowe, or Tech Tuesdays with Ben Stowe. What is it, Ben Stowe?
Just Tuesday night with Ben Stowe. Yeah.
Tuesday night with Ben Stowe. I'm filling in for John Young for today, and we're here at ADJ headquarters for a very special open house. Ben happened to be in the neighborhood. He came in, stopped by, and wanted to see the place. But we're not here for products per se. We're here for technology, and what better place for technology than ADJ? Today we're going to go ahead and give you a history lesson, at least for some, on the evolution of the LED, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, yeah.
All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with LED, LED stands for light emitting diode, and it's a very small little piece of equipment that is used for displays, well, at least it used to be used for displays or little lights, indicators, and since the evolution of the LED has advanced so far, now we can light up stadiums and theaters and all sorts of great little things with just a little LED. But I'm getting too ahead of myself.
Yeah, whose show is this anyway?
Yeah, is it my show or is it your show? But here to enlighten us even further is Ben. Ben, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good, Jose. You did a great job of kicking us off here. Yeah, I mean, LEDs are prevalent now on everything, not just as light sources, but backlights for our phone screens, computer screens. Solid state light sources like LED have become a mainstay for just about every part of our lives, and of course they've revolutionized our industry. They've given us the ability to, using small diodes to color mix, we're now up to 6-in-1 with some of your hex products. They're very low power consumption. The light output's gotten very good, and of course they don't generate a lot of heat either. It's one of the reasons they're so efficient is they convert more of the energy that you bring in into light energy as opposed to heat energy. And you've brought us some toys.
Yes, I brought a little bit of a variable array of different LED technologies that we could talk about. Specifically when it comes to lighting products. Can you give us a start of where it all started?
Yeah, absolutely. This is each one of these that you see on here is an LED, and each of these diodes is a different color, red, green, and blue, and we'll get into the why of that in a minute. But this is maybe more like what you would see going back to the early days of LED, something that's a little more common, where we would see these as indicators on circuit boards and that sort of thing, and we still do. And this here is what we call a 5mm LED, very cleverly because it's 5 millimeters in diameter. Mm-hmm. And there are, of course, 10mm diodes, which are like this too. And then by using these red, green, and blue, each one would light up either red, green, or blue. Mm-hmm. By varying the intensities of red, green, and blue, we can make a fairly full gamut of color. However, due to the narrow, now I'm getting ahead of myself here, due to the narrow spectral output of each color, the color mixing is a little bit more limited with 5mm and 10mm as opposed to some of the other options, which we're going to get into. And that gets into some physiology of how the eye sees color. We have 3 cones in our eyes. Well, probably you or I do. Mm-hmm. We're trichromatic. There are a very small percentage of people in the world that are tetrachromatic, which actually have a 4th cone, and that's an entirely different show. But
is that the blue gold dress thing that we went through a meme a while back?
Yeah, I suppose that it would be interesting to ask someone who's tetrachromatic, and it's really interesting because being tetrachromatic is only something I could try to conceptualize because I'm not. Only about 4% of the population is tetrachromatic, and they're almost exclusively women, mm-hmm. which actually really gets interesting as we talk to some of our clients. Many of our clients are brides. Mm-hmm. It's very possible they can see colors you can't. Yeah. And they might ask for a color that you have a difficulty reproducing because you can't see the difference. Yes. Where it really gets interesting is that instead of a linear expansion of the color space they can see, it almost becomes almost I don't want to say 3D, but that 4th cone gives them the ability to see different hues and shades of the other cones, and it's something we can only maybe try to understand looking at things like hummingbirds.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That was way too techie, but I liked it. I think I understood it.
Yeah, well, it's and again, it's difficult for us who are trichromatic to understand what a tetrachromatic person might see.
Right.
And one of the really interesting things is that because the world is predominantly trichromatic, many tetrachromatic people maybe don't even know they are because they've only heard and seen color as described by a trichromatic person.
Right.
For example, if I pointed to a color and I said, this is green, you and I would both agree that it's green, but what does green look like to you? We both see this and agree that it's green because we've both been taught that that particular, 532 nanometers or whatever is green, but what is green? Anyway.
It becomes more subjective, right?
Absolutely. Color, and in fact, one of my favorite things to say is that pink is a figment of your imagination. And I could explain after we get into some diodes. I've gotten way ahead of myself. Thanks, viewers, for hanging in.
Yes, yes.
That's why you have a fast forward button. So 5mm, 10mm diodes will accomplish color mixing, and they're not just limited to red, green, and blue. You do find these in other colors as well. You'll find amber and white diodes, UV diodes. But this is ancient history. I would just chuck it, but Jose would probably be mad if I did that. So. These are called SMD diodes, and that is just ever so cleverly for surface mount device, whereas these are a through-hole solder. These are on the surface. And within each diode is all three colors. And we can see, actually, this one looks like a quad. Okay, so this one's a 4-color. So within this little diode here, there's actually there's 4 colors, red, green, blue, and I would have to light it up to tell what the fourth color is.
It's kind of hard to tell. It might be an amber, it might be a white.
Yeah, it could be either one. So anyway, point being, even up to the hex now, the red, green, blue, amber, white, and UV that American DJ and a few other companies have, because these diodes are spaced so much closer together and come out behind a single optic, the color mixing is much smoother, and we're able to reproduce, even with red, greens, and blues, things like yellows and ambers much better than we could with this. And that gets into the way that the human eye sees. Using those red, green, and blue cones, our eye sees variants of red, green, or blue, and it determines what color it's seeing. If it sees red and it sees green, it tells us that's yellow.
Right.
The problem is that with these spaced out as much as they are, and with the spectral output being as narrow as it is, our brain isn't really fooled, and it sees more red and green stripes than it does yellow sometimes, until the light has an ability to travel to a wall and blend. Here it's going to be, it's going to look much more like a convincing yellow. And by the way, we'll save our last diode for last, but I'll try to explain why pink is a figment of your imagination, and maybe John will have to edit in a graphic here, so bail us out, John. Poor Jose, he's along for the ride. Just hang on, buddy, here we go. So we've got in our spectrum, we've got red, green, and blue, and if we look between red and green, we would see yellow. If we look between green and blue, we would see cyan. But if we light up red and blue diodes, you would see pink.
Yeah.
But what's between red and blue in the color spectrum?
Green.
Green. So that doesn't work. If we go between green and red, we see yellow. We go between green and blue, we see cyan, and that works.
True.
But if we go between red and blue, we see pink. But we should see green. But we don't.
How is that possible? Are we going around the spectrum?
Here's what happens. So remember, we only see red, green, and blue light, trichromatic people. And our brain says, wait a minute, I see green. I know when I see green because I have a green cone, but I don't see any green. I see red and I see blue, and I'm confused because that lands right in the middle where green is, but I don't see any green. In fact, if you look at magenta colored gel in color correction, in theatrical terms, it's called a minus green. It is the absence of green. So our brain quite literally invents this color. It says, well, I see red, I see blue, I'm going to go with pink. So I'm sorry, I have two lovely daughters. They were shattered to learn. I ruined their childhoods by explaining to them that pink is a figment of their imagination. It doesn't exist. Pink. There is no pink.
Wow. See, you learn something new. You learn something new every day.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. That's why they call it Tuesday with Ben.
So our last diode is this one that's in here, and it's a little bit more difficult to see, but it's a newer type of diode called chip on board, where the diode is on either a ceramic or aluminum wafer, it's a much more efficient, particularly at heat dispersion, so we can drive the diodes harder and brighter. Right. But it also produces a very, very wide wash, whereas the light field from this diode is maybe what, 25 degree, maybe 30,
average,
30?
25 to 30.
Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
We're looking at probably closer to, I would guess, 80 or 90 degrees off this fixture. A very, very nice wide wash. And that, of course, is not only really nice for uplighting applications or downlighting applications, wash applications, but you're also going to start seeing COBs or chip-on boards in a lot of residential lighting. I think, imagine this, and I don't think this is very far off in the distant future. It might even exist, I just haven't been paying attention. Ceiling tiles could have chip-on board embedded, that you wouldn't see a light fixture in a room anymore. The ceiling itself could become the illuminating source.
Yep. I don't see that in the next 20 years. I see that in the next 10 to 5 years. I think it could happen much more sooner than we think.
In the next 3 months. I mean, really, no, I'm kidding. I mean, it's because the technology exists and the technology is real. The delay is going to be getting architects to specify it and then getting fixtures deployed and retrofitted.
Right.
And maybe the biggest delay is going to be us, the consumer, because we're used to seeing a light fixture. It's getting a little bit space age. Your wall could be your light source now. You know?
That's why when I look at LED light bulbs, they're still shaped like a light bulb, even though we can shape them any which way we want. We can make them cubed. We can make them, tetrahedron. I don't even know if that's a shape, but you can shape them any which way you got. But subconsciously, I think we want to draw something from the past, and that's why they're still shaped like a light bulb.
Well, absolutely. And this is maybe a random example, but the QWERTY keyboard, the computer keyboard, they've found much more efficient ways now to deploy keys for the way that we type with the English language. But we're so comfortable and familiar and ingrained in that, we do like things that are comfortable and familiar. But again, this will become comfortable and familiar to us. Yes. As well.
And I also saw a video maybe 6 months ago of these ceramic tiles that they are looking to use as pavement for roadways that have LED embedded into the tiles so that you can literally change the lanes depending on the traffic flow, or create cautionary signs in the road depending on the situation. That's pretty awesome, and that would be this technology we're talking about here.
I've seen that too, and I looked at some of the engineering behind it, and I don't know, because when you get into the cost of deploying that and the cost of maintaining it, obviously the vibration from vehicles is very, very hard on these circuit boards, and there isn't enough photovoltaic energy from the sun to do this in practice where they discussed it in theory. But bottom line, never mind the practicalities of what can or cannot exist today. Tomorrow it certainly could, and you're absolutely right on the money. We're in the middle of a very exciting time where the pace of technology is accelerating, not decelerating, and we're seeing advancements on a rapid scale, and that's just a wonderful, exciting time for us. The lighting business, I think, is the most exciting it's ever been. Yeah. And it's got to be pretty cool to sit in your desk. It's pretty cool to sit in my desk. And in fact, there's a few things here in the ADJ demo room kind of are good shining examples. Maybe we should take a look at a couple of those. And,
absolutely. We have some examples of COBE technology, SMD technology, and still integrating the 5 and 10 millimeter technology. So we're going to take a quick tour of what we have around here that is based on these 3 examples. All right, we're here at our first stop of our technology tour with Ben Stowe on a Tuesday night. We're talking about LED technology and the evolution of the LED chip, if you will. And here is the ADJ Dots Illusions 3.3. Ben, trivia quiz. What type of LED is inside this fixture?
I would say it's a chip on board.
Why would you say that?
Well, because we see a nice, wide, even field of light behind this Fresnel-style lens. It's going to give us a nice, full pixel as we look at this as a pixel mapping fixture, but it's also going to allow this to be used as a blinder and give us a really nice, wide field of wash. How'd I do?
That's pretty good, but I could have swore you probably read it already and you already knew about that.
No.
No. Okay. Well, I was trying to stump him, and apparently it didn't work. But nice try.
I'm not a good dealer. I should do my research. I'm sorry, but
nice. All right. So we're going to go to our next stop here at ADJ, giving a tour at our open house event with Ben Stowe. Okay. So Ben, we're looking at this unit right here, which is the ADJ AV6, our first entry into video panel display. can you tell me what type of LED technology is this?
Is this a quiz?
Yes, it's a quiz.
This is going to be SMD type diodes.
Oh, so what gave it away?
I know these things.
Okay, I'll go with that. But is there any physical characteristic that gives it away?
Sure. Each of these diodes here, each of these little pixels that's going to make our video image has to contain red, green, and blue in order for this display to work the way that this one is designed. Now there are video walls that are different, but in order to keep the 6mm spacing of this particular panel, these would have to be 3-in-1 RGB diodes, and so that would have to be an SMD.
Got it. It's the ability to be able to cram as many LEDs in one spot is what gives it away, and also the size of the diode itself, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, the more diodes, the more pixels we have, the higher resolution the image is going to be, the better quality it's going to be. And this, I'll tell you what, I just saw this panel for the first time, maybe an hour ago. I'm really impressed. Mm-hmm. It's super easy to put together. I just love this. It's very lightweight. Even a skinny little nerd like me can pick it up, which is pretty cool. And I quickly discovered the service door, which that's a very important part. I mean, it's not if but when something's going to need to be serviced. And I love that you guys are thinking ahead to that and making sure that we can keep the rig on the road. So I'm really impressed. EtherCons. Let's show the people at home. There we go.
Here's what we got.
So EtherCon in and out, PowerCon in and out. Again, quick, easy assembly. Rigging. I'm impressed. I like it. And the price surprised me. It surprised me.
The price for something similar like this in another company might be half or if not double the price for this. And it's really a testament to our heritage, because really ADJ, even though we've never put out a video panel in the market, we do have a sister company called Elation that has a lot of video panels already in circulation. So I'm glad that you were able to come and take a look at this up close.
Well, me too. This is going to be a great solution for a lot of our customers, and I'm excited to talking to them about it. This changes things again. You guys have a habit of doing that.
Yeah, well, we try. All right, Ben, so let's go to our next fixture. Okay, Ben, so far we have not been able to stump Ben. And it is my mission today, and Tuesdays with Ben, to be able to stump him, because he's like the smartest man in the world, the most geekiest person I know, aside of myself. And it's very cool to hang out.
Star Wars fans, both of us big Star Wars fans, yeah.
So our next fixture, right over here, this is the ADJ Pocket Wash, and it's got 4 LED diodes here. But what type of LED diodes are we looking at right here?
These are also SMD diodes, and I don't know if this is just a 3-in-1 or a 4-in-1, but it would be one of those types of SMD diodes. And you can see the difference as compared to the chip-on-board diode. It's not as even of a field of light across the diode if we thought about this as a pixel like we saw on the other fixture, but we're still going to have a really nice, even, bright wash field when it's projected. But there's where you can see the notable difference here.
Well, I'm going to have to say, yes, he is correct. It is an SMD. But this one could be very tricky, because you could have a COBE in here. It's just depending on the lens, maybe, or just that you had looked at the specs beforehand and already determined that.
Well, no, you can see when you look at the diode, you can see just by looking at it behind the optics that it's an SMD. With a COBE, we wouldn't see this type of optic on there. So
this optic allows the light to be focused a little bit more.
Right, exactly. It allows us to maximize the output of that SMD and achieve the light field that your engineers wanted to achieve when they designed the light. Cool. So I guess you just got to keep trying to stump me. Now we did have somebody actually in an early episode ask me why the sky is blue, and I answered it. Viewers, go back and watch the show. So,
really?
So right. We'll see what else you got. You better bring your A game.
Okay, well I got one more light, and it's actually right next to you, right here. Right. Now we're here at this fixture, which is right next to the Pocket Wash. I'm not going to mention the name of the fixture because the technology of the LED is inside the name of the fixture. But can you tell us which LED type is this?
Can I look on the back of the fixture?
No.
Then I'm going to say that this is a COBE. This looks very much like a chip-on-board wash.
And because why?
Because I can see the diodes inside.
There you go. See, that's a clear indication of why Ben is the smartest man on the planet. So the characteristics here is because you can see the LED chip already in the lens. I don't want you to look directly into it because you know, it could be a little bit dangerous. But here he's taken away the lens, and you can see the chip right there.
There you go. You can see a little chip on. Of course, you probably just see a red blur. But anyway, put this looks like a Fresnel style lens here, and again, the characteristics of chip on board, very wide, even wash field. By the way, I think you're going to do well with this fixture. I love the fact if you can see that the diodes end right here, yet this light goes back to here. It appears that it has a pretty advanced cooling system on it, which tells me this thing is ready to rock for some pretty heavy duty.
You're right. This is the ADJ CoBeWash Cannon, and this is a very cool light for theatrical applications, installs. I mean, you could use it for mobile applications too. The great benefit, it doesn't have a fan, so there's no noise. It has an internal cooling system that allows the COBE chip to breathe, so to speak. And so if you're in a situation where like a TV studio or a theater, fan noise is a very important issue. This is a pretty good light to have.
Something else I want to point out to our viewers, maybe you don't want me to point it out, but I'm going to anyway. Right here, the orange sticker says prototype. Yes. So you saw it here first. Brand spanking new technology from American DJ.
Yes, a lot of these lights that we're introducing here at our open house are prototypes. So they've been shipped to our facility here, and they haven't yet been mass produced. So once we get the specs right, we get our designers and R&D team to approve it, then they get mass produced and then shipped to everybody at home.
I got nothing to add to that.
There you go. I'm just going to shove the microphone in his face, hoping he could come back with something smart.
Yes, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us here at ADJ and Jose Heredia, acting as your host for tonight, standing in for John Young. Thank you very much for letting me take the helm for at least one day. And Ben, is there anything you'd like to add as far as to recap the show, to kind of give it a nice bookend, anything to give us some witty comments or anything like that?
Well, no, but we can see behind us here the LED panel that we looked at, and for those wondering, this is an X-ray of me, bionically made here, bigger, better, faster, stronger than before. And for those who are wondering what's in my head, you can see nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We thought there was a brain, but apparently there's just chips and circuitry.
Yep, microchips, yeah. More machine than man now. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Ben, for coming out to ADJ, and thanks, John Yun, for letting me take control for this Tuesday nights with Ben Stowe.